today's session. Welcome, Mr. Nair. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Akshita. May I share my screen now?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay, just 1 second. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Great. I believe you see Unlock real-time business insights, correct?
Correct.
Great. Okay. So thanks again. Good morning, and thanks for joining. My name is Mohit Nair. I'm a partner engineering lead. Joined Google around 2 years back, and also spent a considerable long time with Microsoft before. So for the next 15 minutes, I will focus on how we enable customers to unlock real-time insights using our smart analytics platform, and that too without spending months on setting up the infrastructure, and at the same time enabling you to save cost by paying for the resources that you actually use, instead of spending millions of dollars on the machines that you will eventually use. So with that, let's start. So we have many industry leaders with us here, and you will all agree that today every industry is becoming a digital industry. Automobiles are now software driven. Drug discovery now depends upon big data and AI. And as analytics are embedded in everything that we do, and devices generate, ever increasing amount of data, traditional on-premise solutions will simply no longer cut it. Just to quantify what I'm saying, by 2021, that means end of this year, over 75% of the organizations will have a multi-cloud and a hybrid IT strategy. And as business innovations, increasingly becoming software driven, public cloud services will be essential for 90% of those innovations by 2022. And by 2025, the sum of world's data is expected to grow by 5 times from 33 zettabytes to 175 zettabytes. And in this regard, the scale and the power of cloud is critical in realizing this. Due to the long procurement cycle that we all are familiar with and want to avoid, economies of scale, pay-as-you-grow model, along with other advancements in technology like serverless analytics that we will cover soon. So cloud becomes the obvious choice for all organizations, irrespective of their size, and this is true across industries. And as we all know, data warehouse use cases have gone beyond traditional operational reporting. Today, organizations need a 360-degree view of their business by breaking data silos and still being cost effective in terms of upfront cost and cost associated with managing the solution. And obviously, they also need a solution which can be deployed faster. That's very, very important to every single organizations that we have worked with. Not to mention, they need a secure platform and a solution which is accessible to everyone across the organization. It's not limited to few. And they also need the capability to respond to the business events in real time. So that's what organizations are looking for. And the solution to everything that I just covered is Bigquery. So Bigquery is our exabyte scale, fully managed serverless data warehouse platforms. That means no server to provision, configure, monitor, or tune. It also allows real-time streaming insights using SQL. That means nothing fancy to learn. I meant Java, Python, or any of those languages. If you know select star from table, that's good enough. It also has built-in ML capability, along with an in-memory business intelligence engine. A bit on the technical front, and there is a reason I'm gonna say a few lines on the technology without going too deep. So BigQuery stores data in a compressed encrypted columnar structure, and it doesn't use or support indexes. So you don't need to worry about traditional problems with respect to index tuning, fragmentation, rebuilding. You must have heard of these terms. And not just that, we also take care of backups for you so that you can focus entirely on finding meaning or insights from data. The reason I mentioned, traditionally, a lot of database experts, DBAs, they spend time on these activities, but not anymore with BigQuery. It also offers automated data transfers, so no need to worry about expensive ETL processes, And we also have streaming ingestion to get data in real time. And as you can imagine, streaming ingestion supports use cases that require analyzing high volume of continuously arriving data for near real-time dashboards. BigQuery also has a BI engine, which is a fast in-memory analysis service with using which you can analyze data with sub-second query response time and with high concurrency, right? It's not limited to few users. Again, without compromising performance, scale, security, or the data freshness. On the AI and ML front, BigQuery ML allows everyone to build and operationalize machine learning models directly within BigQuery. Again, using simple SQL, nothing fancy. And this has been a game changing for a lot of organizations across industries. BigQuery ML increases the speed of model development and innovation by removing the need to export data from the data warehouse. Instead, BigQuery ML brings ML to the data. Again, BigQuery also protects your data with encryption by default and also offers customer managed encryption keys so that you are covered from a security perspective as well without any additional work or software required. Connecting back to the key pain points, we have heard from our customers that traditional data warehouses are causing a lot of pain as they are unable to keep up with today's analytics demand, right? There's a tremendous complexity with scaling on demand. That's why customers like Telegraph Media Group, moved away from their legacy Hadoop environment, which could no longer scale to analyze, their growing volume of data. And with BigQuery, Telegraph reduced their query time from hours to minutes with up to 4 terabytes of data processed in less than 1 minute. I repeat, 4 terabytes in less than 1 minute. And as we all know, traditional data warehouses were built for a batch paradigm, right? And not for today's world, where by 2025, about 1/4 of data will be streaming in nature, right? So Blue Apron, they stream over 140 million events per day with BigQuery. And this has helped them accelerate the business decisions by 1 day to near real time to better manage food inventory as well as delivery. Also, as we all know, access restrictions on data inhibit the data sharing and collaboration. Home Depot CIOs is able to empower business units to create their own BigQuery projects and has reduced dependency on the IT, for additional data warehousing capacity. And this has resulted in wider adoption of the platform as well as faster time to value. Again, very, very important. Everyone is contributing. And not to mention, inability to take advantage of emerging technologies like AI and ML, where you need to move your data out of your data warehouse into complex and fragile niche systems, that require PhDs to operate. But we at Google Cloud truly believe that there has to be a simpler model, do everything in your data warehouse and that too with familiar SQL dialect. And that's exactly what 20th Century Fox did. They used BigQuery to run analytics on data pulled from DoubleClick and YouTube and used TensorFlow to do audience analysis on film scripts and track content patterns that may better predict what resonates well with the audience. And finally, again, we all know this, legacy data warehouses are extremely expensive to purchase and maintain. And HSBC needed to cost effectively, upgrade their aging Teradata environment across multiple regulatory jurisdictions. So by moving to BigQuery, they were able to save millions over 7 years. And on the data analytics front, if you ask me, Mohit, why Google Cloud? Because we are really proud of our contribution and commitment to open source. Google's history in tackling the hardest data management and analytical problems have led to innovations which are now global standards. I'm talking about MapReduce, Hadoop, HBase, and it all started over 15 years ago. And now you can experience the same capability in a managed way, and not to mention portability. And again, no lock-in. We don't believe in that philosophy. Again, if you ask me, the biggest differentiator is the innovation, is the learnings, is the practical experience of running these massive scale applications for over 20 years. Way before, people started discussing cloud, we have implemented the same in multiple products, as you can see on the screen. Just to quantify, out of 13 online products with over 1 billion monthly active users each, 9 of them are owned by Google, that you use on a day-to-day basis and rely to get things done. So that itself shows and proves the scale that I'm talking about, the capability I'm talking about, the security of our purpose-built infrastructure. And the remaining are from Facebook. So again, no comparison here with any other CSP like AWS or Azure, because out of 13, we own 9, rest are with Facebook. And now we want to partner with our customers so that you can leverage the same infrastructure, platform, services for your enterprise solutions. Exactly the same solutions that Google uses for its billion user products. Quickly on the ML front, as I said, BigQuery ML is unlocking machine learning for millions of data analysts. There is no need to program an ML solution using R, Python, or Java for that matter, because models are trained and accessed in BigQuery using SQL, a language that most data analysts know. And the steps to create a model are pretty simple as well. You write SQL query to extract the training data. You create the model, obviously by specifying what type of model you need. You evaluate the model and make sure that it meets your business requirements and start predicting, because your data is already there in BigQuery and now you have your model sitting alongside with your data. So in a nutshell, with real-time streaming capability and ML models right into the BigQuery, you can make ML-driven decisions in real time. And not just that, a lot of organizations wants to experience the offering and the leadership that Google has in this space on the analytics front. But at the same time, we completely understand that they cannot move the data across clouds. So let's say if they already have their data on AWS or Azure, we understand that. So as part of our customer commitment and truly believing, in an open cloud, we have recently released Bigquery Omni, which is a flexible multi-cloud analytics solution that allows you to analyze data across clouds, again using standard SQL, nothing fancy to learn. That's very, very important. And again, using the same BigQuery familiar interface. And there is absolutely no need to move or copy data from other public clouds for analysis. Also, there is no need to format or transform your data. You don't need to do that as well, because Omni supports multiple data file formats, including Ebro, CSV, JSON, ORC, Parquet, and many more. And not just that, but data Q&A is also there, which enables you to ask questions to BigQuery in natural language, and get instant answers without requiring deep technical knowledge, which can improve productivity and business outcomes, right? As you can see on the screen, data Q&A makes it easier for non-technical users to access the data insights that they need through natural language techniques, and all while maintaining the business governance and security controls. And data Q&A can be embedded where users work, right, including chatbots, spreadsheets, BI platforms such as Looker or custom-built UIs. So we have all the options. Quickly on the AI front, Google aims to democratize AI. So it's not limited to data scientists only, it is available to everyone. We have pre-trained models to custom models driven by TensorFlow and everything in between based on whatever your business needs and expertise are. You can leverage Google Cloud. Again, we are covering various aspects of sight, language, conversation, and data. You can derive insights from your images in the cloud or at the edge with AutoML Vision, or use pre-trained Vision API models to detect emotions or understand text. Like one organization in the manufacturing space has moved more than 40% of the manual inspection workload to the visual inspection solutions that we have built based on AutoML Vision. You can assign labels to images and quickly classify them into millions of predefined categories. With AutoML, you can train high-quality custom machine learning models with minimal effort and machine learning expertise. We completely understand. So you don't need to be an expert, but you just need to understand the business problem, the outcome that we are showing is. If this is fine, let's proceed. Otherwise, train a little bit more. Translation API is there, which can instantly translate text from more than 100 languages for your websites or any other applications. And with Contact Center AI, you can deliver exceptional customer service and increase operational efficiency using artificial intelligence. With this solution, you can enable your virtual agents to converse naturally with customers and expertly assist human agents on the complex cases. Quickly to share a customer credential, LG has been using their in-house models to detect defects, but they had two core issues: the modeling time, which took closer to 7 days, and overall accuracy was also not up to the mark. So LG used AutoML Vision to train the models and used our Edge IoT platform to run Google trained ML models for their defect detection locally, right? That means they are not even passing data to Google Cloud. They will deploy the models locally. And this has helped them to achieve 99.9% accuracy in glass inspection with only 9 hours of modeling. And overall, $1 million in savings per year per production line. And they have over 30 production lines. Another customer credentials that I have, uh, Applied Energy Services, which is a global power company you must have heard of that provides energy to customers in more than 15 countries, I believe. And with this project, they wanted to improve the process of detecting windmill damage, right? And automate to speed up the whole inspection process. So Google Solutions was to leverage AutoML Vision to inspect windmill images taken by drone and automatically identify and categorize those damage types, which includes analyzing close to, if I remember, 60,000 images. And this solution has resulted into reducing the windmill inspection time from 2 weeks to literally 2 days. And at the same time, eliminating manual photo inspection workloads by 50%. And with this new capability, they avoided over 57,000 hours of dangerous manual inspection, which also has resulted into $10 million in benefits, and not to mention the overall efficiency, in time, cost, safety, as well as quality. Again, quickly, not just one product, which I mentioned, BigQuery, but we offer end-to-end comprehensive solutions which are proven at Google scale. I don't need to explain what Google scale is. You all use our products and services on a day-to-day basis. So that's the scale I'm talking about. Like on the data collection or ingestion front, you can leverage PubSub, which is our fully managed real-time messaging service that allows you to send and receive messages between independent applications. We have Cloud IoT Core, which is again a fully managed service that allows you to easily and securely connect and ingest data from millions of globally dispersed devices. On processing front, you can spin up an auto-scaling Hadoop cluster in 90 seconds. You can also use Dataflow, which is a serverless data platform for batch as well as for stream processing. This is based on Apache Beam. Similarly, Data Fusion and Data Prep provides a graphical interface to complete all the data integration and ETL tasks to increase the time efficiency. You can even run traditional databases, right? We have Cloud SQL offering, which gives you the option to run MySQL, Postgres, as well as Microsoft SQL in a managed fashion. And we also have Cloud Spanner, which is a first globally distributed and a strongly consistent database service built for the cloud. Again, to combine the benefits of relational database structure that we all are familiar with using it for last 30 years or with non-relational horizontal scale. So that's what Cloud Spanner is. You can also leverage BigQuery for storage as well as obviously for analytics, especially when you don't change your data in last 90 days, which I see typical for the enterprise data warehouse solutions, then the cost is just 1 cent per gig per month. On the AI front, you can use our AI platform to train your machine learning models at scale, again, Google scale. You can host your trained models in the cloud and use these models to make prediction. You can also orchestrate all this with Cloud Composer, which is again a fully managed workflow orchestration service on GCP, which is the managed version of open source Apache Airflow. See, I'm emphasizing on this fully managed. The reason is because we truly believe that we should give a solution where customers are focusing on their core business and not the underlying IT. You can also use Data Catalog, which is a managed, scalable metadata management service to find and describe your data assets. On the visualization or activation front, we have Data Studio, we have Looker, as well as we have full support for third-party tools like Tableau. You must be using Qlik, and many more, with native integration with BigQuery. So the point is, what I'm trying to say, we offer end-to-end solutions, and that too at a Google scale. Again, this is a limited set of global customers who are leveraging BigQuery, and we are literally there in every single industry, right from Spotify to Domino's to Gojek to New York Times Geotab, Sky, Khan Academy. We are there everywhere. This is a limited list of Indian customers that we have worked recently, right from Tata Steel to Z to Hero and many more, as you can see on the screen. Not to mention some of the largest financial institutions run their workload on GCP, including ICICI, HSBC, SDFC, EXA, Prudential, Karur Vysya Bank, so that you can easily relate, this to the security offerings that we have, scalable infrastructure that we offer, and the better tested solutions that may make available for our customers. And it's not only me as a Googler, who is articulating the value proposition, but world's most reputed research organizations, they also have to say the exact same thing. Google Cloud is the leader, and not only in 1, 2, 5, or 10, but in 22 areas across infrastructure, data, analytics, security, networking, AI and ML, application development, big data, and many more. And that's all I could cover in a given time frame. Thanks, and I welcome you again. Now I request Manju to share more on why Google Cloud and Pluto 7 are the best partners for your digital transformation journey. Over to you, Manju.
Thank you, Mohit. I hope you can see my screen.
Manju, I see it.
Yes, Manju, we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohit, for the background on the Google Cloud platform and how Google Cloud is able to not only serve billions of users, but now serving many, many enterprises in India and across. My name is Manju Devdas. I'm the founder CEO of Pluto 7. Over the past 4.5 years, we have been implementing Google Cloud for hundreds of partners in India, US, Canada, Mexico, and many countries. Over the next 15 minutes, I will be powering through a few case studies and some quick demos so that you get to see when you put this technology to use, what does that look like? And what does innovating look like for customer experience and supply chain transformation? And we use the word jumpstart here because you can get on the cloud and start your digital journey much faster than you think. The first and foremost is we focus on smart analytics, and number one reason why customers hire us is innovation. Innovation bringing by the experience we have gained with working with hundreds of customers. We are the Partner of the Year award winner for data and analytics, carrying multiple specialization with deep expertise and experience in the space. When we work with our customers, these are the 14 odd problems that we solve in improving customer experience, which goes hand in hand with supply chain. If you're a manufacturer, if you're a company with supply chain in some form. Now, if you look at majority of the companies, it's not like they lack any technology for BI or data warehouse. They either have it or they have been evolving for a long time. But there's a fundamental transformation shift here with the capability of AI combined with centralizing data with serverless architecture. And I'll get to that in a minute. When we work with our customers, there are two things that are happening as part of this transformation. First is you're combining data from different functions, departments, or units, as you call, combining the marketing, sales, and supply chain data. That it's not just about connecting the data, it's connecting the problems, it's connecting people, it's making your business efficient and as real-time as you can. Here are some of the sample customers that we solve for in India and US and many other countries. And as we work with these customers, our approach is to deeply understand your business problem first, which we start off with business architecture. Then, depending on where you are with your journey with smart analytics, when we say smart analytics, it's data warehouse and machine learning. And then we enable AI on top of it and collaboration. Now, Mohit had mentioned that he had given you a glimpse of how a smart analytics framework by Google is enabled. This is the same framework Google uses internally for serving billions of users. Now it's been made available for the enterprises. We have solved many customer problems using this framework, and I'll go through some of them in the next few minutes. Takori, for example, they are the diamond ring, one of the largest diamond ring merchants in US. When coronavirus hit, the obvious problem is weddings and engagements and everything canceled. So what's the immediate problem? Nobody is buying diamond rings for a while. And then the natural reaction would be that this would extend for a long time. But in 6 months, the trend reversed, not just for recovery, but an extraordinary growth. Before they saw the reversal in the trend, our data analytics with smart analytics show that reversal in the trend. It was hard to believe that people will be buying a lot of diamond rings in the second half of last year, when nothing that we would think logically when people are sitting at home would say that. Similarly, when we work with Kohl's retailers, they are the top 10 retailers in US. When we started working with them on demand forecast accuracy at a customer segment zip code level or pin code level, where we look at the product segmentation behavior and dynamically adjust the demand forecast so that it is accommodating for the seasonality, it's accommodating for the income, for the unemployment, various other internal and external data. When we did this, we improved the accuracy for a good portion of their product by over 20%. That is unheard of in their traditional method. All of this using machine learning. Similarly, California designed an omni-channel retailer. They're the number one omni-channel retailer on Amazon India. And for all categories, they're the number one retailer on Amazon US for household category, but all their analytics runs on Google Cloud using smart analytics framework we just mentioned. We reduced their inventory carrying cost by 50% using this smart analytics framework. AB InBev, world's largest brewery, Budweiser is one of their popular brands. When we introduced machine learning model for their beer filtration problem, it's really the determining when to replace the filter before the beer goes from the big barrels into the containers into the bottle. That one machine learning model saved $10 million. When you apply that across plants, you can do the math. Again, the machine learning model ran on Google Cloud. And it's really these kind of innovation that makes enterprises rethink about what does it really mean to be data-driven. Levi Strauss, we are solving many problems for them. One of the problems is how many jeans of a size 32 by 30 fit in a particular size carton. Sounds like a very simple problem, but not if you're a 168-year-old company with tens of thousands of partners and many carriers carrying those boxes for you on air ship. And if your boxes are not properly filled, wrong boxes or incorrect packing, then you're creating labor and inefficiency in your freight. We improved the accuracy to 95% compared to the baseline of which was way lower than that, driving significant savings. Similarly, inventory carrying costs, inventory planning. When grocery stores ran short of supplies and you have to find the matching products, which one is close to which other substituted product when you are commonly available products are no longer available. We used ML to do item assortment to find the closest matching products so that customers can still get something close to what they're used to buying. Fulfill Plus, based on the shipment volumes, how many cartons do they need, how many packages do they need, and projecting that out, adjusting to the supply-demand situation, that helped reduce carrying excess inventory of cartons. Inventory tracking, how many candies are in a particular kiosk, or how many Coke cans are in that kiosk. All of it through video intelligence, deriving and determining every single item that's taken out of the refrigerator with an instant feedback into the inventory tracking so that it never runs out, so that the person arrives at the exact right time or the most appropriate time when the racks are actually empty. All of it through video intelligence AI. When California wildfire broke and when there are 300,000 or 3 lakh power lines to be managed, this was last summer, we were the team who designed the smart analytics architecture to monitor and manage those power lines. Imagine thousands of drones flying, capturing real-time data, writing into Google Cloud, analyzing, highlighting the risks to the petrol agents, driving in an SUV on the freeway and looking for where the next fire might arise. I mean, technology put to saving lives. Similarly, we are working with a large Indian enterprise in automating the entire factory. So when you think about these technologies being put to use, you have to kind of, I'm sure many of you in your leadership roles are evaluating these things in many different ways. If I can quote an analogy, it's like going back 30 years and saying, internet will change your business. And that sounds pretty logical, but how much, how deep, how wide, that was anybody's imagination at that point. Today, nobody debates that internet is a critical part of your business. Same thing is what we are already seeing that happen with AI. Here are some samples of how when we talk about automating a factory, it is connecting the factory to oil drills, to analytics, to preventive maintenance, to using any chatbots in your day-to-day operations. So the list goes on. When we look at our customers, when we look at what does transformation really means, transformation means improvement to your KPIs, improvement to your KPIs to a level where it's you shatter the acceptable baseline. Why should a demand forecasting be accepted at 80% level? Just because your demand planners could only hit that metric. Now, what if you bring third-party data, and what if you look at 10 years history versus 2-year history? Now that changes your accuracy level. And this is in some ways, you're shattering the belief of a human bias embedded in how decisions were made in the enterprise. When you go through that, cross the threshold of human belief to doing more math, which is really how I look at machine learning and AI, then you're really transforming your KPIs. And once you do that in one area, then it proliferates in the rest of the business. That's data-driven transformation. So now, while what I show you in these demos will appear as a bunch of dashboards, but you have to kind of take a step back and see if I can take my entire enterprise data. For a second, don't worry about how good or bad these dashboards looks. Think about all these things running on Google Cloud. You have your entire company's data, 10 years history or however long history you want to put, and you want to analyze your data, marketing, sales, supply chain in one place. Not only analyze your data to see how your marketing is performing, but also knowing in real time what is happening with your campaigns and what are your customers thinking about your products. Are they trending positive, negative with the product's usage? And if the trend is negative for a given segment, how does that change your demand? And what does it mean for your revenue? Or when do you lose a customer? Now think business real time, because the machine learning models are classifying and reclassifying your customers and customer segmentations. And when you're planning for your supply, your marketing, sales, and supply chain are connected. When they are connected, your promotions, if your promotions are misfiring, you're seeing that in your supply and vice versa. So then when you have machines go down, like for example, you have a machine which is expected to fail, like the beer example what I was giving, instead of figuring it out on a Friday afternoon or a Monday afternoon when your labor is completely staffed on the assembly line, what if the machine learning model can tell you 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks before when the machine or an equipment will go down? You can plan your labor and downtime differently. So there are many ways you can look at these things, whether you automate a factory or the way you plan your shipments and use video intelligence to track your shipments. All of those things are possible. Now, when you think about this, it's really about centralizing the data and connecting the data, what Mohit was talking about, right? When you have all these things, why do you have to worry about how many servers run? Focus on what data exists and how do you connect your data to it. You can drive your KPIs. Now, if I go back now, um, all of these things, when we look at it, we have done this for hundreds of customers, enabling whether it's a data science platform for your data scientists to do these analysis or your line of business users to do the analysis, enabling those platform to dashboards to ML prototypes with our solutions. It's done in 90 days or less, and that gets you on a cloud journey. And it all starts with us understanding what is it that you're trying to solve. There's no need to boil the ocean, but at the same time, if you're talking about supply chain resiliency, there are typically 3 to 4 problems that you're going after. Or a customer experience, there are 3 to 4 top priority problems at the C-level executives that you're going after. Even if you start the journey there and you build upon a culture of data-driven transformation, you will see that manifest. So we take you through the journey of defining the use cases, setting up the data warehouse, and the machine learning models. And in the process, translating a vision to a design, and then taking that design to centralizing your data and enabling the machine learning models, to enabling the ML solutions. These are things that help you get to the better states with your KPIs. Whether you're solving a demand forecasting, supply planning, logistics, we have solutions that we have put on marketplace. If you look at GCP marketplace, you'll have solutions that are click to deploy. Now the thing is, the customers, every customer will have different kind of data, different sets of data, different formats of data, and they want it to be aligned to the business process. That's where we step in, look at where your data is, bring them in, help you automate those decisions. The key here is the data volumes are going to grow. That I don't think we need to debate about that. Your reliance on data is going to grow. Now the question is, you can't just keep building dashboards after dashboards. You have to automate even the decision-making process. That's where these machine learning models with the platform built will give you better visibility into your supply chain, into your customer experience, help you plan better through automated decisions. So if you're interested further, looking forward for the panel discussions as well, we can do a 2-hour complimentary workshop. We have done hundreds of these. You can either email me at manju@pluto7 or Zishan, and we look forward to hosting a free workshop for you. Okay. With that, I'm done with my section.
Thank you, Manju. What an informative session this was. I'm sure all the participating audience had some key takeaways from your session today. Now, let's move to the most interesting session here. It's a quiz time. Few instructions to guide you here. We will be running the quiz on menti.com, and the link will be there in a login code that has been shared on your screens right now. I would request everyone to quickly log in on www.menti.com and use the code 60594861. I repeat, to log in on www.menti.com and use the code 60594861, which is displayed on your screen right now. Kindly stay on your browser once you sign in. Please log in with the same email ID which you have been registered for the session today. You will get some time to answer your question. I would request everyone to please join the session. We have very interesting takeaways here. I repeat, you need to log in on www.menti.com and the code here is 60594861. We are just awaiting for a few more attendees to join in, and then we'll proceed for the quiz here. I repeat again, you need to log into www.menti.com and the code here is 60594861. We'll be starting the quiz in a while. I can see people are participating. I request everyone to please log in. We have very interesting takeaways here. I would request the panelists also if they can join the quiz here. You need to visit www.menti.com and the code here is 60594861. So we'll be beginning the session now in some time. I would request everyone to please log into quiz. We are starting the quiz now. We're just waiting for a few seconds for the people to log in. Start with our first question. You can see on your screen right now. The first question is live migration to a cloud involves. The options are downtime of few minutes, downtime of few milliseconds, no downtime, and lastly we have none of the above. You have 10 seconds left here. I would request everyone to please cast in your options. The correct answer is downtime of few milliseconds. We move on to the next question. A web-based email service such as Outlook, Hotmail, or Yahoo Mail are examples of which of the services? The options here are infrastructure as a service, software as a service, product as a service, and the last option we have serverless computing. Choose the right answer. You will be getting the scores here. And the right answer is software as service. As I can see, maximum people have chose the right answer here. We move on to the third question now. The third question we have, cloud computing shifts capital expenditure to dash expenditure. The option here are, the third question we have, what task can AI perform? The first option we have act as virtual assistant. The second is generate ideas. Third is analyze unstructured data. And fourth is all of the above. And the time is up. Let's see what's the correct answer is. The correct answer is all of the above, and I can see maximum people have answered it correctly. We move on to the next question now. Cloud computing shifts capital expenditure to dash expenditure. We have options here. First is operating, second is local, third is service, and fourth is none of the above. Let's see what's the correct answer is and how many people are getting it right. And the correct answer is operating. That's great. Let's move on to the second last question now. Dash is vital technique to create cloud computing centers. We have options here. First is virtualization, second is data mapping, then we have grid computing, and lastly we have data migration. We have 8 seconds left here. I would request you all to quickly cast in your option. And the right answer is virtualization. I see most of them have got it right. The last question for the quiz here is, what is the system of data warehousing mostly used for? And the options here we have data integration and data mining. The second option is reporting and data analysis. Third is data mining and data storage. And last we have data cleaning and data storage. And the correct answer here, you can see, reporting and data analysis. With this, let's see who is the winner for this quiz today. Congratulations, Thomas. We'll get in touch with you post the session today. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in the session today. Now let's move on to the most awaited knowledge sharing and interactive session, the panel discussion. The discussion is around the topic accelerating your journey to cloud with cloud analytics. We have very interesting names here. The session will be moderated by Ms. Jigisha Thakkar, Senior Domain Specialist, Dun & Bradstreet, India. Thank you, Ms. Thakkar, for joining us today. Our first panelist is Mr. Prince Joseph, Chief Information Officer, SFO Technologies Private Limited. Thank you, Mr. Joseph, for joining us today. Following him, we have Mr. Gopinath Velu, who is the Head Chief Supply Chain, V Titan Corporation Private Limited. Thank you, Mr. Velu, for joining us today. Then we have on panel Mr. Alagu Sundaram, Chief Technology Officer, eShakti.com Private Limited. Thank you, Mr. Sundaram, for joining us today. The next on panel, we have Mr. Paramjit Singh, who is the co-founder and COO of Signi Air Energy Private Limited. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for joining us today.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Following him, we have Mr. Nagesh Buddha, Lead Supply Chain, Asia Africa Advanta Seeds Limited. Thank you, Mr. Buddha, for joining us today. Then we have on panel Dr. Shrikant Swarna, Head Procurement, Adore Welding Limited. Thank you, Dr. Swarna, for joining us today. And finally, we have Mr. CEO and Supply Chain Domain Expert, Pluto 7. Thank you once again, Mr. Devdas, for joining us today. I'd like to please come on. Jigisha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ankita, and welcome everyone on this panel discussion. We have heard the experts sharing their views in the previous two presentations, and I'm sure that some questions may have arisen in our minds. I'm very much sure that though we have heard a lot of things into those presentations, but some things probably we would like to need to hear in more details. We would also like to learn something from the expert panel from us, based on their experiences. It would be a good idea to get a different perspective from the panel members, those who have already used and implemented the technology, implemented the solution. We have an expert panel from various industries with us, And I'm sure that we'll be getting a lot of new things to learn, a lot of new things to understand, a lot of new things to ponder upon. With this, let me just very quickly take you through some questions. We have some questions with the panel members. And my first question I would like to direct to Mr. Joseph. Okay, sir, we have seen that in the last few months, there are a lot of challenging situations for various industries. How can the cloud solutions help organizations in this challenging time? And what's the need? What's the need that we should adopt the cloud solutions or cloud technology to accelerate our business? So what are your views? Sir, you're on mute. Can you please unmute yourself?
Are you okay? I hope I'm audible now.
Yes.
That's probably the $1 million question, which every IT head and CIO is probably responded to and answered or responded to in business. When the pandemic struck, there was a need to respond almost on an overnight basis to get the business to continue. So business continuity was the first driver, and we were looking at means on how to enable that in the fastest, least disruptive manner. So a few of us were lucky because we were toying or playing around with these technologies without having a full vision or a commitment behind it. But since they were all there, one of the experiences that I've had is some of the things which are actually good to go, that because of internal wranglings or processes or delays or us not going through that whole stages with conviction, it was actually parked. So there are good solutions waiting, but we never made it live because we just didn't see the need for it. The situation around COVID pandemic actually forced us to just make that step into that area, and the only way we could actually ensure that business could continue was by moving workloads onto a cloud platform. I come from a manufacturing environment, so we do have a limited application there because you can't move manufacturing operations to the cloud, but you can move all the other parts where your customer collaboration, your supply chain parts, your finance and operations, your whole lot of other operations could be moved to the cloud. So there's a continuity in that sense. What we struggled with was with obviously not getting operators onto the floor who could operate on the machines, and that is one part which we still haven't solved, but it forced us to start thinking. If we suddenly had to go from an area where you had 1,200 people on the floor and you're only able to get 100, how can you ensure that your output doesn't go down by that percentage? And also you're talking about staff on various skill levels. So you've got operators of machines, quality personnel, engineering staff, etc., etc. So how do we try to mitigate that so that we are able to have an OE level which can still be sustained? At the end of the day, what drives us more is we are also supporting businesses like aerospace, defense, healthcare. So there is also a commitment in the battle against COVID that we need to enable these industries, and whatever product we need to supply to them, they cannot stop because that actually stops the supply chain to them. And that was also a driver for us to start looking at ways to do this. So one of the first things was, of course, getting our own internal staff to get connected to the applications and collaboration platforms. One example I can give is Microsoft Teams, for example. It's a very simple one. We had over 1,000 licenses. And prior to the pandemic, our usage was probably in single digits of users. Post the pandemic, we are suddenly seeing spurts in hundreds and hundreds. So there were many things that we were able to quickly leverage out of that. The other part was customers are also looking to see how we're responding. Are we in a position to actually continue operations? They are querying, while they're also affected, they also want to see this. It's primarily because of the nature of the industries that we support that we were never allowed to sit back. We had to find ways to keep the business moving, keep the production plants moving, working with the authorities, and that required a hell of a lot of collaboration across all platforms. And suddenly the need for having a vertical integration between us, our suppliers, our customers, government authorities, that just became a whole new challenge where we had to come up with leveraging these platforms to ensure that these are all done. And the second one, I think the two areas that I would just touch on just to answer these two was, first one was on the business continuity, second one was on collaboration across all these platforms with all the stakeholders who are involved in this.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for the insights that you gave for the manufacturing industry where the cloud solutions can be useful. Mr. Paramjit, you're from the energy segment, so we would like to hear from you that how in the energy segment the cloud solutions have helped in the last few months.
Yeah, sure, Jigisha. Thank you very much. We are, for example, I'll take my industry's example. In Signi Energy, we are making this lithium-ion batteries for energy storage, as well as the solar energy solutions for the home lighting and solar home lighting for the remote areas, and the commercial and industrial rooftop solar as well. In all these areas, I'll give you, example that how it can help. In my rooftop solar, the big problem is that if panels are installed once, after that there is no one can monitor those. Sometimes the panels are clean, sometimes unclean. The sunlight is falling, but the energy is generated or not, we don't know. Some shadow comes or some building comes up nearby. But with the cloud solution, I'll give you one example where we are having some, not a cloud yet, but in-house, monitoring and all. We've implemented remote monitoring in around 50,000 homes, which we connected on solar energy. And all those we are monitoring on our servers. What happens that when there is a shadow or there is a dip in electricity generation for a few days continuously, 3-4 days, we come to know that something has happened, something is broken, or some shadow has come, or some issue is there. Then our teams can go and do the maintenance quickly. And this way, we have been able to solve quite a few problems of the customers. Normally, they are also struggling. Sometimes the escalations come at a later stage, but we are able to proactively solve the problem. So we have a live monitoring of the energy generation every day, every hour, how much energy packets are generated and how much are consumed, how much are stored in the battery. In any of the parts, there is a problem that can be, quickly monitored. Second thing is data analytics. We know what is the pattern, now. That in this 50,000 homes, what is the pattern of electricity generation and how it works seasonally and what are the consumption patterns over a, seasonal shifts and all. So that has also given quite a few insights in optimizing the, battery sizing for those customers. That we say that you don't need this much. You don't need 1 kilowatt hour. You need only half a kilowatt hour, which will be cheaper to you. And the customers are happy. We are able to pass on the benefits to the customer and optimize the system and avoid the wastage. Similarly, in the electric vehicles, nowadays, increasingly the fleet management and all those things will come on the electric vehicle. All this Amazon delivery and all this, Ola, Uber, and everything. Fleets will come on sooner or later. It will come on the electric vehicles only. And all those. In those fleets, we need to check the battery is swappable option. For example, in a cooking gas cylinder, if it is empty, you just replace with a refill with a new one. Similarly, if you have a battery which has gone empty, you go to a battery station and get it replaced. But in the battery, there is a difference from the cooking gas cylinder. Cooking gas cylinder, you always guaranteed you get 14.2 kilograms. In the battery, it depends on the state of health of the battery, state of charge of the battery, how much charge is left. In order to predict, accurately calculate the batteries, put to the charger will read the battery, talk to cloud, and based on the past state of the health of the battery and the charging cycles and all, it will immediately calculate how many charge units are left and how many I need to fill in it. Accordingly, billing can happen. That's a new upcoming area of energy operations, which will maybe in a year or year and a half, in 4 to 6 quarters, it is going to be all around, you will see it. And that is purely cloud-enabled kind of service. And it will also help in prolonging the life of the battery. When we are charging a battery, if the temperature is rising, and you can slow down the charging. And so, because it talks to the past, all the history of the battery is available on the cloud platform, it will tell it that this battery needs to charge at this because those so many cycles have been completed, so our charging rate should be this. So all these insights are coming from the data analytics only, which can happen only if there is a central repository where we can collate all the bits of data, make some insights out, draw some insights out of it, and then that is where the energy segment is, in my view, is going to use this cloud.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us the examples through which we can understand that where these cloud solutions are useful for not only the business insights but the data analysis, and of course in the last few months how this has changed the entire way of analysis. Mr. Manju, I'm sure that you may have come across various kind of challenges from various organizations, and especially in the last few months how these cloud solutions have had the organizations. If you would like to share some examples, so that would be great.
Yeah, so when we work with organizations, and many of these organizations have been around for decades, right? And many of them, especially we deal with a lot of enterprise, mid and large enterprises who have been around for decades. Transformation, this is not the first time they're doing a transformation. They might have done transformation during the smartphone launch era, so transformation before internet and so on. Now, transformation has a pattern. Transformation has a pattern in the form of what's my ROI, in the form of labor savings, or in the form of my revenue growth. Will I be able to add more to my revenue? What's the power of data analytics, right? Now, with the 400 plus customers that we have engaged with, it almost always comes down to connecting the dots of where the returns is, right? Whether it's done explicitly or implicitly, it has to be done. Now, the broader awareness of cloud, the rationale of moving to cloud or using a machine learning and AI, there are enough content our customers read. They really don't need us to come and educate them on the basics of cloud and AI. What they really look for is, tell me what is the relevant innovation for my business, right? How is it like beer filtration will save me money? And you have to work with them on that. And then I think Mr. Joseph highlighted, the biggest challenge happens to be not the technology. How do you bring your people along with this transformation, right? If you introduce the concept of digital twin, a recommendation showing up next to a production manufacturing floor person, what does the digital twin means now for them? Nothing. What difference they will see is a recommendation that shows up. Instead of looking at these 100 parts, look at these 3 parts. Now you saved them time. So if I were to look at adopting these technologies, it is really connecting with these people and making sure that the innovation is comprehensible or explainable, right? That's the most important thing. After working with hundreds of customers, to me, AI and machine learning is just a whole bunch of math which will run on cheap memory and compute. And anybody tells more than that, I am yet to find a better answer for this. Well, what that means is we let humans make a lot of this, use their mental power to do the math and judgment on when my part will go down and things like that. So if you take any of these customer experience problem, why did I lose a customer? Okay, there's you go back and look at the history of the patterns, digital footprint they leave. You will know why they left. And now you can predict 30, 60, 90 days before when you lose the next customer. Not by intuition, but using data analytics. So there's a common theme in this, right? When you innovate, you have to go back and look at how you use the power of, how you use your data. And data is the manifestation of your business, the state of your business. One point which became obvious, which is probably once in 100-year occurrence, supply chain never shuts off like the way it did between March and May, especially last year. No softwares or scenario planning was designed with rules built in such that when this occurs, do this. At least majority of them, what we dealt with, nobody said that they had a ready system to handle it. But what they had to do, the supply chain leaders and the customer experience management stakeholders had to analyze a lot of data and make decisions, right? Whether they did it in Excel or some other mechanism, it was a frustrating few months, they did it. And that's where the transformation need became evident. There needs to be a better way. We can't do rapid planning, rapid scenario assessment, volume of data is going up, customer expectations, are going up. FedEx and UPS, for some of our customers, stopped accepting shipments because they just couldn't prioritize enough. That has never happened before. Right? Ports of LA had 40% empty docks. That has never happened before, at least not in known history for many decades. That doesn't mean pandemic will happen every year, but pandemic has taught that by knowing the state of your business, which means knowing what your data is telling, optimizing the cost of your decision making, you can improve your business. Hope that gives the response, and it was a long answer.
Sure. So thank you so much for the insights, and thanks for sharing the examples also to understand this in much better way. So the next question, I would like to request Mr. Mr. Gopinath Velu to respond. Sir, how can analytics technologies make the decisions faster? I'm sure that you may have come across. Sir.
Yeah. So during this, thanks, Jigisha. So during this COVID situation, we had some 500 orders from a customer, all for medical equipments. So we need to fulfill this order, and there are almost 79 individual components to build this complete product. So as a supply chain guy, few parts are still holding there in the supplier end near Coimbatore. In our inventory, we have about 60 plus parts, and some more parts are in transit. But all these 79 parts will contribute a complete product. So in that case, right, without adopting any cloud technologies, it was very difficult personally for us to trace all the individual components, where it is lying, whether it has been completed the incoming inspection, whether it has been moved to the inventory, and whether the supplier shipped the component. And we need to match that with our bill of material, and it was a big trouble during this pandemic situation. So that was one main thing which we struggled, and we used to call everyone and ask them to check the parts. And it was very difficult for us to go to our office, which is almost 30-40 kilometers from city, and traveling 5 kilometers from here is very difficult, because each and every 100 meters we used to see a cop, we need to show them the e-pass. And that difficult is the situation, and if cloud analytics and cloud information are there, it will be much easier for us to gather all the information. We could have tell our sales and marketing people how many units can build in how many days. But that was quite unfortunate during the COVID time, because all those informations we maintain in the Excel sheet, and it will be in individual team members. And we used to review that weekly once, but during that time, most of the other people don't have proper internet connection also due to the COVID situation. Most of them moved to the native place. Some are residing in suburban place. So it was very difficult to manage that situation.
Thank you so much, sir, for the insights. We have heard the examples from the energy segment. We have heard the examples from the manufacturing segment. We have heard the examples from the supply chain from Mr. Gopinath also. Let me request Mr. Alagu to share your views about the data analytics technologies in the decision making. I'm sure at in a personalized fashion segment from where you come from, you would be having a little different experience. So, would you like to share something about that?
Yeah, definitely, Jigisha. So, e-Shakti being in the customized fashion segment, we had the same trouble, being the supply chain or the diamond example that Mr. Manju was talking about. People are not going out. They didn't have a need for new clothes, so we had to figure out how to penetrate there and how to grow there. So we had to run a lot of experimentation. So with those experimentations, we had to be a lot more data driven. So last year, in fact, we had very limited resources as well. We had a very small technical team, and data and reporting needs were all funneled in, and we were never able to manage the number of requests coming in from our product managers and the leadership. So that's when we decided to invest in the enterprise data warehousing aspects and data visualization tools, and we primarily focused on getting all the data, the right data, to every department head ASAP, as soon as possible, right? And with that, what we saw is us, and I think I saw a guarantee for 90 days from Mr. Manju, and I think he can do it in 2 to 4 weeks in itself, and that's what the cloud solutions right now enable us to do. So if we really know what we need, we can get it up and running as soon as possible. So with that kind of infrastructure where we started investing in, and as Mr. Mohit was talking about as well, it didn't require a lot of capital investment. That was very easy for us when the cash flow is all crunched. It's a pay per use, and we got these all set up. And what we did was, one is we were able to get people the data that they needed, all the essential data reporting, and more than that, what we saw was, once we enabled the entire company to be able to make data-driven decisions, we saw a 3x increase in the number of queries, number of reports that we take, and our experiments started failing sooner, or we were able to pivot a lot sooner and make better decisions. So with that, we were able to get into personalization. So and we are going towards hyper personalization and seeing how analytics can help us there. And that definitely, as in the cloud solutions and the the cloud analytics, definitely help us make quicker decisions, and that's how it helped us during the tough times last year.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the insights. It's very impressive to know that in such a short time, with the cost efficiency, this solutions help making the decisions much faster. Thank you, sir, for sharing your experiences. Mr. Nagesh, I would request you to please share your views as well. I'm sure that at Advanta Seeds, you would be having a very similar, in some of the cases, and some different experiences as well. So please share.
Sure, Jiggy. Basic information in two pieces. One is on what are the trends, right, across the industries, whether you name automotive or the FMCG or pharmaceuticals or IT. The key trends, what I notice is particularly people are looking for real-time or near real-time data and insights, and that brings a challenge on connectivity, and when maybe the cloud is a solution around it. And the second piece, how the industries are moving, is on simulation, and trying to work on advanced simulations and robotics. These are few things. And also a kind of powered by automated intelligence. So this is the second trend which we are looking at across the industries. And the third piece is on how do you integrate the entire systems and the production methods is one way area where the industry is moving. Last but not least, what I personally believe is how do you bring the artificial intelligence and the human and machine interfaces and connection are most important. So these are the key trends what I noticed across the domain, and particularly in agriculture domain. Now, what are the technologies which are driving these trends or kind of enabling these trends? One is what we look at is IoT, big data, machine learning, neural networks or artificial intelligence, devices and apps, and augmented realities. And but for this, the foundation is all data, right? How do you gather the data, funnel the data, and kind of dissect the data so that you get a real output of it and meaningful and make a sense out of it. So the cloud computing is helping us in building those foundational layer, which helps you as a storage and computing methods to take the decisions. And now the second piece I will talk about is the agriculture production, where I am right now working. So as agriculture, right, it's a large production location, and I'm handling both Asia and Africa. And during the COVID times, we cannot travel within India, but also we cannot travel to multiple countries. So the complexity is huge. As such, agriculture have a huge complex variables, large layers of variables, both controllable and non-controllable. Some are known, some are unknown factors which are influencing the productivity. So with this kind of ecosystem, the decision making is critical and paramount importance for taking a kind of maximizing the profitability. What we have done in the past 1 year during this point of time, I will tell you one thing, to improve how do you talk to the plants and how do you talk to those plots is most important. And so we have used the technology like Internet of Things, and how do you ensure we are gathering the data using the satellite and drone imaging and try to kind of superimpose the soil data, weather data, and plant profile data, and superimpose all this data and try to get a meaningful decisions what we have took. And this has helped us to improve the yield despite we have not visited the fields. Generally, there is a saying, seeing is believing, but in COVID times we could not see, but we have seen using senses of Internet of Things and helped us to act.
Right.
The second area where we work is image analytics. That is one area where you can try to get the profile of a picture of either a component or a plant and try to quickly take a decision by disease profiling or by nutrient profiling. We can, and also quality testing. We have used this image analytics for quality testing, which has helped us to quickly take a decision and helped us to improve the yield of the overall organization. So in simple, I will lastly say, it's not only physical yield what we are looking, so we are also unlocking the digital yield from past 1 year. It has accelerated our journey.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for the insights that you gave us, and I'm sure that the inputs that you have given is very, very useful to all the participants as well. I'll just move to the next question of the panel discussion. I would request all the panel members to very quickly respond to it as we're running out of time. So very quickly, I would just request Mr. Joseph to please let us know how the cloud solutions have provided better collaboration across the functions in your organization. So, as in your earlier sharing, you have already shared that various functions have come together. So, how the cloud solutions provide the better collaboration?
Right, Jigisha, I'll just carry on from where the previous panelist just mentioned and Manju also mentioned. So the thing is, it dovetails into this. So what's happening is now analytics, decision making, all that is, of course, need of the hour. Right now, you're having to react a lot now. If you're having to react, what are you doing that based on? You're based on facts, or based on your experience, based on gut feel, or you're just doing some guesswork. You can't do all that. So you've got to assimilate all the data that's available to you. So what this brings me to is, and this is probably an example that is elsewhere available as well. We try to deploy a very advanced planning, scheduling, and simulation tool in our manufacturing area and across the plants. And the tool didn't work. It was connected to all the other systems, but the tool just did not give an output, which was useful. The reason is the tool is too good. The tool actually does its job. The tool functions perfectly. It runs its algorithms. But the tool is also considering certain things. Any planning tool looks at certain inputs. The integrity of the input across all these areas is critical for this tool to actually give an output which is useful. So we struggled and struggled because we found out that no matter what analytics layer you bring in, your base data, as days are passing, you're still creating a lot of garbage into our system. It just goes back to every unit, every operations team, every process, every stage is still creating junk of sorts. So this is not actually giving us information that can be processed, and it was not a good example of analytics. It's not about the technology. Suddenly it came back to, let's go back to basics. The functional head knows exactly what's going on, but that is not a view or a snapshot you will get from the systems. If I want to take reports or dashboards, there is a mismatch. If I'm looking at a particular raw material, I may get information that is available here, but it's actually probably available in 2 other places, and it's already been deployed to 2 other products. And this information is not really available to me in real time. pack. So it could be systems integration. It could be about the fact that you're not capturing data at every point it needs to be caught. It could be about the fact that machine itself could be giving us information so that the host automation layer isn't really perfected. So it revealed a hell of a lot of gaps across many layers of the whole process. And that's where I thought one thing the tool has done is expose many of these things. And that's what we need to go back and tackle. And then we attempt this again. The data is going to be cleaner. So I can't say that we have won that battle yet, but I can see that we are making a lot of progress there. So this is where, one element which I would touch on, collaboration between teams. Everybody needs to see the big picture. When they see that the big picture is not making sense, where to go back and analyze and work on those silos and clean it up.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Gopinath, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, so mainly, right, the all necessary information must not be with one or two people, but it should be available across the cloud so that anyone from the management side or anyone from the might need the responsibility to take the.
We lost your voice, sir.
It will be like a short thing from my side.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Paramjit, would you like to add something to this about the cloud solutions, how they provide the better collaboration across the functions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mr. Joseph and Mr. Gopinath has already, covered all the, aspects. One is the data security. It should not be, confined to one person's laptop only. It should be shared data of the organization. Data is the property of the organization, not of a individual. So if the individual leaves, the data should not die along with him. So that is one thing. The second thing is that different departments, for example, in the manufacturing setup where I am working, I see that R&D has certain data, the supply chain has certain amount of data. Then there is production, there is projects. All these guys have their own set of data, and there is quite a intelligence which is hidden in the data. If the data is collated at one place and intelligent insights can be made out of that. In the silos, the data doesn't mean anything. It can't be put to much of the use. So that collaboration, that synergy and 1 + 1 is not 2, it is 11. So that can happen if we collate the data together. And second is security of the data, and more organized management of the data can happen with the cloud platforms. Thanks.
Absolutely right, sir. Thank you so much for your views. Mr. Nagesh, we would like to know your views as well. So kindly share your views on the collaboration across the functions with the help of cloud solutions.
Sure, Divisha. So that's interesting, right? I always look at, collaboration is one of the foundational, again, for getting all the people are rowing in the same direction, right? All the functions, everybody are rowing in the same direction. That is most important. And when I really look at, we have used a simple control tower concept, which is nothing but you're getting, as a supply chain, it's a multi-echelon model. And you have a suppliers, you have manufacturers, contract manufacturing, and you have a distribution systems, retailers, and the last mile deliveries. And how do you get this ecosystem and encompassing all this data into one place so that there is a good collaboration? And also there are 3 key pieces to get the collaboration working well. One is visibility. How do you ensure that everybody in the organization are looking at a similar picture? There is a single source of truth. So that's one most important for getting it. So we have used this control tower concept to see a single version of truth. And second is velocity. The kind of response, right? The time to response based on the situation. So we know that during the COVID times, we have a huge lockdown. And how do you ensure that we have a strategy around logistics? How do you ensure that we place the product faster than the competition or faster in the market so that farmers can access the product? So we have used this control tower as a tool to ensure that we place the product timely. And lastly is about unlocking the digital value. How do we ensure that the sales, marketing, suppliers, everybody look at it in a similar way so that we reduce the bullwhip effect in the entire value chain, right? There are no excesses and there are no shortages. We are trying to strike a balance and ensure that we are coming closer to what the customer requires. So these are three areas that I see how the collaboration.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experiences. I'm sure that the participants would find your control tower concept very, very useful. So thank you, sir, for sharing your views. With this, I would like to move ahead and ask the last question to Mr. Manju. Sir, I'm sure over the last few months, and not only that, you are having a very rich experience in this field. So you may have come across with various innovations in the cloud smart technology. So what are the latest innovations in the cloud smart analytics platform that you have come across, and how it can help in the data analytics seamlessly?
Yeah, so from innovation, there are some innovation that interest people, some innovations which are not so attractive but very impactful. So first, the innovations that are amazing customers are video intelligence and image recognition applied to real business scenarios. Video intelligence, especially, it is in a more simplified manner. It's a bunch of images, and each image is a mathematical vector which can be compared from one to another. If you look at it from that perspective, which means you know the state of your business. Let's say you're watching a gate and watch what truck is entering. And every image is a bunch of pixels which is compared to the previous image, and you're identifying one thing. Is it a good or a bad truck? Right? Now, something as simple as that, but it's very risky for your business. We have been able to solve these problems, and these models are not complex. But when you think about a video intelligence, it sounds very complex, but when you actually implement it, it's very simple, right? Now, when you implement these technologies, the direct translation into labor saving is huge. And that's one innovation that over and over it is catching people's attention, because when we think about largely decision-making analytics, most people think about numbers, text, mining, dashboards, but it's less about video intelligence or image processing, and now that directly triggering process reengineering. Now suddenly you have a signal, which is a simple text message which says, I found something risky here, right? Now that could save a lot of money. So that's one innovation that's catching a lot of attention. Second is process automation. I'll give you an actual example of a large enterprise, $60 billion revenue enterprise, 500 people, employed knowledge workers just to monitor assets, right? Our job was to see how to drive productivity. All we did was we observed what those 500 people do by picking random samples of people, documented exactly what they do from morning to evening, and figured out that out of the three things, organize, analyze, and activate, which is the machine learning equivalent of decision making, majority of the time was spent in organize, because they couldn't even get the data. Decision making was 10% of the time, but 60% was in organize. So when we bought simple automations to help them organize and connect the data and show them what's relevant data, that got us a 30% productivity gain directly. In this innovation, I didn't even bring machine learning to picture yet. So, but the impact is directly hundreds of millions of dollars. So like this, there are many examples, but in the interest of time, I'll just summarize it by saying in the best practices, what we have seen, spend a lot of time on organizing your data and making it visible. Because that's a prerequisite for any ML and AI anyway, right? Don't get caught up with ML and AI first. Do it in the right order. But at the same time, don't make it completely sequential, because your organization has to learn. And that's a journey by itself. So back to you, Jigisha.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking us through a journey of new analytical tools, especially when you said about video analytics and image analytics and all. Definitely, this is something which many of the organizations have not yet started doing, but I'm sure that when they start doing it, when they start implementing it, this is going to be very, very useful. So with this, I thank all the panel members for being with us on this panel. I'm sure that personally, definitely, I have learned a lot during this course of discussion, but all the participants have also learned many new things into this discussion. So thank you so much. I would now open the floor for the Q&A with the participants, and I request the participants to please put your questions into the Q&A section. Okay. Okay, so I think we are getting the questions. We have got the first question from Mr. Vijay Devnath. And this question, he has requested to know Mr. Mohit to answer. Okay, so the question is that when will the G Cloud be available in India as a MITI-empaneled CSP? So Mr. Mohit, we would request you to please respond to this. Okay, Mr. Manju, can you take this question, please? The question is about when will the G Cloud be available in India as a MITI-empaneled CSP? Any idea about that?
So G Cloud, if you're referring to Google Cloud in general, I don't know if that's what the reference is.
Yeah.
Google Cloud is widely available with many of the components already available for Indian markets. There are a few components that are being enabled on a regular basis. So if you send us an email, we'll be able to answer much more in detail with specific components that you're looking for.
Thank you, sir, for responding to this question. We have got one more question. The name of the participant is not written over here, but this I request any of the panel members to respond. Mr. Manju, you can also respond, and any of the other panel members can also please respond. The question is that how is technology helping business monitor the inventory levels and ensure the optimization of the inventory?
Okay, I can take this if nobody else is picking it up. Inventory level monitoring is, we have seen it in three different ways, right? One is inspection of the inventory itself, in the form of counts, in the form of images being taken to count the number of bottles or cans, as an example, to do tracking, whether it's taking out of a refrigerator or moving on a conveyor belt. So that's one. And second is the inventory management in harmony with supply, demand, price. Because your inventory, the amount of stock you'll end up having is a balancing act between your demand, which is constantly changing, your supply, which is constantly changing, and what you have in stock. And now it is also related to your suppliers who are constantly filling that stock. If the supplier runs out of cash, if your most reliable supplier is no longer your most reliable supplier in the scenario, now you're dealing with more and more variable on your inventory management. If you, for a simplicity, if you think about it as a time series model, and in an Excel spreadsheet, if you start adding these variables, pretty soon when you start having about 78 variable columns, it gets difficult for you to arrive at that number of how much inventory you'll carry on which date, even with a simple Excel. Now, when you start adding 20, 30 variables like that in a pandemic scenario, your inventory management can benefit from a machine learning model. The model itself doesn't need to be super complex. You load these kind of data, you'll get a very decent initial response, which you can tweak. So I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, sir, for responding to this question. I think a follow-up of this question, another participant has asked, as you mentioned about machine learning, how it is useful in the inventory management. One question that a participant has asked is, how are artificial intelligence and machine learning transforming the entire supply chain management?
Okay. Machine learning and artificial intelligence is a pretty wide spectrum of, let's say, algorithms, right? Now you can have the very basic to the very sophisticated. The very basic is a simple time series example. What I was saying, if you're having challenges trying to figure out with the rule-based system with 7 columns and now you have 20 columns, put an ML model, you'll get a decent answer. Now, if you take the other extreme of supply chain, which we are working with an oil and gas company, reinforcement learning, the equivalent of that is driverless cars. Think of you sitting in a car and the car is receiving a bunch of sensors and signals about your images, numbers and the temperatures and all kinds of things. And it's making a decision. It's making a simple decision of going either left, right, straight, at what speed. Now, if you remove that car and put supply chain in that place, you're dealing with very similar things. Should I accelerate, decelerate? Should I go up or down with my demand and supply? Now, in the car, if in a self-driving car, it's a reinforcement learning where it's continuously learning by itself, by taking and learning from previous mistakes. If you replace that with the supply chain model, in the case of an oil and gas refinery where we are building this, you're continuously, the oil and gas, the oil well is running in the middle of an ocean and with collecting a lot of data. When you apply something like this, you see that the overall execution of that operations model, it's much more efficient than humans running it. Somewhat like autopilot flying a Boeing A380 or Airbus A380, something on those lines, right? So now it's the same spectrum of algorithms that we are dealing with. These come as part of these platforms and white papers. What is the missing gap then? The missing gap is people's imagination and applying to the business.
Thank you so much, sir, for the insights. There's one more question. I think this is the last question of the discussion. The question is about many a times it happens that when the data is moving to the cloud, there is a lot of apprehensions about data security. So, I mean, if you would like to share something about the solutions for this, I'm sure you may have already implemented this. And you must be getting a lot of questions about data security from your clients as well. So, sir, your response to this?
Yeah, so the number of questions we are getting around cloud being secure or not is decreasing year over year for the last 4 years. That should give some indication that the overall confidence is going up. Now, the scientifically, it is proven in many ways that cloud is more secure than on-premise in general for various reasons, right? But again, it's also an evolution of awareness of what security really means, right? And whether it's at a data at rest, data at motion, there are many ways to dissect it. But at the end of the day, the organizations are evolving. They're understanding security much more deeply. And the more they are educated, the more they are making conscious decisions in terms of what cloud security means, and that it is, for the most part, they're agreeing that cloud is more secure. But in some cases, they have to deal with compliance reasons. They have to do certain things differently. The analogy to equivalent is, if we give $1 million to somebody, will they keep it at home or will they put it in a bank, right? So that's the equivalent, and the bank themselves don't keep it. They shard it and they distribute it, right? So it's the equivalent of that we'll see in cloud, where cloud security will be less of a debate. It will be more about awareness of how to secure your cloud. And I would say, rather than spending time whether cloud is secure or not, I would encourage people to spend time on how to secure your data in cloud, because it gives you a lot of flexibility. And the most common mistake people make is file download. And I don't want to go deeper into that, but avoid the most common mistakes and don't spend too much energy trying to figure out whether cloud is secure.
Thank you so much, sir. I think this is a very valid point that you have highlighted. So again, thank you all the panel members. Thank you, Mr. Manju, for being with us. I think with the Q&A section and panel discussion, we close here. I hand it over back to Ankita. Ankita, back to you.
Thanks, Jigisha. First, let me thank Jigisha for summarizing the entire panel discussion and duly helping in answering the relevant questions raised by our attendees today. Truly valuable takeaways from this session today. We would like to highlight this point. You can book a free or no obligation workshop with Pluto 7. Contact them on the email IDs given on your screens right now. With this, we bring today's session to a close. Today's session wouldn't have been a success without the active participation of all our esteemed speakers, panelists, and delegates. I would like to thank each one of you for taking out time from your busy schedule today. A special thanks to Google Cloud and Pluto 7 for their support to this initiative, without whom this conference wouldn't have been possible. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Ankita.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ankita.
Thank you.
Ankita.
It was a
Well
great
done.
pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you so
Same
much.
here. Same here.
Thank you.